I'm Rob Shields, and this is Peace Talks, the podcast that covers everything to do with competitive jigsaw puzzling. The Aussie All Stars came together as a team with the explicit intention of getting Australia on the podium at Worlds. In this episode, we talk about the journeys that brought them together, how they managed practicing across a continent, and how all this effort worked out for them. This time I might be in over my head, as joining me today are Hannah Farthing, Katrina Coleman, Melissa Townsend, and Rhianna Eriksen, who collectively make up the Aussie All Stars. Welcome to Peace Talks, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. I'm excited to see how this plays out because it's the first time that I've had so many people all on the call at the same time. So we'll see what kind of fun things happen. But let's begin with some beginnings and go around and have each of you say your name and share your earliest puzzle memory, if you would.
All right, so I'm Hannah. I am in near Melbourne in Australia, so near the southern part. I think I was doing puzzles early on, so I did my first 100-piece puzzle when I was 3, and
Wow.
did them all growing up, and then actually dropped off once I got a bit older, back in school, and then, as with most people, got back into it during COVID, and it all took off from there.
Do you remember doing puzzles at 3? No.
But I've got photos.
Do you?
Yeah, probably earliest I actually remember is maybe 6 or 7.
And I'm Katrina, and I'm on the little southern island way off the bottom of Australia called Tasmania. And I'm a bit like Hannah, puzzling all my childhood. My fondest memories are puzzling with my grandmother when she used to look after us while my parents worked. So, but then to thank for my loves of puzzles. Same deal. Sort of got older, got busy, had children, got back into puzzles a little bit more when the children came around because I introduced them to puzzling, but didn't get competitive until the Australian Jigsaw Puzzle Association actually started up in the 2020s.
Do you have a memory of puzzling when you were a kid?
Look, I certainly loved, and I still keep actually the puzzles that I used to puzzle with Nan. I've got a couple of those that are that broken, but I just remember sitting at her dining room table, looking out. She had a lovely view over the river, and sitting out looking at the river and puzzling away. So I was really glad to think that I managed to keep a couple of the puzzles that I used to puzzle as a child. They're very hard to put together now. All the pieces are broken, all the little knobby bits are broken off them, but yeah, it's great to still have them.
Hannah, I realized I let you off the hook too easily there. You gave me an introduction of the kind of thing you did, but do you have a memory of puzzling? What's your earliest puzzling memory?
Probably actually just going to garage sales with my dad and buying puzzles. They were usually these horrible, cheap landscape puzzles, but I didn't know any better. And I remember listening to Kylie Minogue on a Walkman while doing these puzzles in my room.
Wow.
So I think I must have been about 7 at that time, I think.
All right, Melissa.
Hi, my name's Melissa. I live on the Gold Coast, Queensland. I've been puzzling my whole life as well, as a kid, as a teen, as an adult, always after school as a kid, after uni, and then after work. So just I've never taken a break from it. It's something I've always done to relax and unwind. Puzzling to me has always been quite a solitary activity. It's something that I've done for me by myself. Again, like I said, just to unwind at the end of the day. Kind of like Katrina, I have a couple of puzzles that are very nostalgic for me because I've done them that many times growing up. I had this tiger puzzle and a whale puzzle. They were both 1,000-piece puzzles. And I did them over and over and over and over again. Like they were always completed on my desk. And depending on how much time I had after school or whatever, I would rip off like a corner or half the puzzle and just build that half. So I've done them probably thousands of times, these puzzles. And one of the earliest memories I have is of that tiger puzzle because I did it in the same part of my desk, almost daily. I could pull any piece, like if it wasn't done, I just had my blank desk. I could pull any piece out of the box and know exactly where on the desk it would go. That because I'd just done it that many times.
By your earliest puzzle memories, you already had done the puzzles lots of times.
I've got pictures of me doing puzzles at preschool, but that's not really a memory. It's just pictures that I've seen of me doing
Right.
them, but it's just something I've always enjoyed. And I'm the only one, my mum does enjoy puzzles, but out of my sisters, they don't at all. So just something I did for me.
Rhianna, take us home.
Hello, I'm Rhianna. I grew up on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, and now I live in Brisbane in Queensland, which is the main city here. And unlike the others, I didn't really like puzzles as a kid. My family always did the Wasgidge puzzles. That still is their bread and butter, and we've got cupboards full of them at home. And every now and then, when I'm out, I send them a photo of what I found and say, "Have you done this one?" Most of the time, it's always a yes. So with the Wasgidge, it didn't really scratch my brain the way I wanted it to. I like to look at the image and then build the puzzle. But growing up in a household of Wasgidge lovers, that's not how it worked. And doing a puzzle that was the puzzle on the box was seen as cheating or not as exciting as doing something that was a mystery. So it was only when I started getting into speed puzzling and Ravensburger puzzles that my mum and dad did their first ever Ravensburger puzzle from the box. Most of the time they were only doing Wasgidge. So my oldest memories would be sitting at the table, putting a couple of pieces together of a Wasgidge puzzle, but not really enjoying it until COVID. And I lost my job in COVID and had really nothing to do for many months. And a friend of mine lent me some of her puzzles to keep me busy. And then that started another love of puzzling. And I've enjoyed it ever since.
For those who haven't had the opportunity to experience a Wasgidge puzzle, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. So there's a few different types. The most common one is that the picture on the box has a scared or surprised cartoon man or woman or someone in front. Could be a bear that looks a bit scared, and it's what did they see that you are puzzling. So it's a different perspective or point of view than what you see on the box.
Right. The box shows you their face. The actual puzzle shows you what they're seeing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've done a few of those. They're amusing. I mean, if that's the kind of thing, like if you're into discovering the picture as you're putting it together, that can be a lot of fun.
That definitely seems to be why my parents like it, is it adds that level of complexity to puzzling and a bit of mystery and excitement when you put some pieces together and realize that, he's staring at a mouse wearing a hat.
Were any of you competitive people in your regular lives before you discovered speed puzzling? Hannah, you're making a face.
Casually competitive. Basically board games or anything that I'm doing. I do like to strive to be the best that I can at it.
So casually competitive across every possible front.
Yes, correct.
Melissa, it looked like you were making a face as well.
No, I was trying to think. I'm not sporty. I'm not academically competitive. No, I wouldn't say that I've been competitive in other areas of my life. Puzzling has kind of been the only, I guess, hobby or passion that's really taken off where I've wanted to take it to the next level and be competitive with.
Hannah, I'm with you, and I think it's a thing about having a brother. Because I'm a younger sister to an older brother, and I've always been a little bit competitive about grades or whatever I was doing hobby-wise, and it was only to beat him. Love him to pieces. However, I think that's where the competitive nature comes in.
What about you, Katrina?
Yeah, I've not been competitive. I'm not sporty at all. So sports never competitive with sports, but I would always try academically to obviously do the very best I could. So if I had an opportunity to do something, it was to always do it to the best of my ability. So not so much competitive, but yeah, needing to do it as best as I can.
Katrina, I'm curious to hear about your puzzling journey, how you got into competitive jigsaw puzzling, and how that led up to your first puzzling experience at the 2002 Australian Nationals.
As a child, always knew that I could puzzle well, but there was no access to internet, wasn't around or anything like that. So there's no way of actually telling if there was any competitions, and there certainly was nothing locally. So it wasn't until I was scrolling through the internet or through Facebook in about 2020 when I noticed that the AJPA had started up the Australian Jigsaw Puzzle Association. And it was like, oh wow, there's actually a world competition for speed puzzling. So it was like this whole exciting new world opened up to me. And I saw that they were going to hold their first national event, and one of the organisers had actually started posting some of her videos of her doing some speed puzzle runs. So I managed to get a couple of the puzzles that she was doing, and thought I need to have a go at this and just see how I go. And my times were comparable, so I thought, oh, well, if she's going, I need to go. And this was without any training. I'd just been doing, my usual odd 1,000 piece once a month up until this point. So I started getting a few more 500 piece puzzles and actually going, well, let's see if we can actually get any faster at this. So that worked really well. COVID came around, so I think the national competition was cancelled that year. So it was 2022 before they actually got the national competition up and running. And I'd organised to go to a couple of local events, so some state events before the nationals came around. Victoria was one I think I was going to go to. I was definitely going to go to New South Wales, but unfortunately I lost my father the week of the New South Wales competition. And so I decided to actually not go. I also caught COVID at the same time. He'd spent some time in hospital, and so there was a fair bit of COVID going around as well. So I didn't get to the New South Wales state competition. So my very first competition then was going to be nationals in Melbourne, without really knowing how I stacked up, or how I would compare in a competition environment, which was amazing. But it was a wonderful experience. It was great because they had the pairs contest first on the day. And when we were first registered for it, it was going to be my daughter and I puzzling the pairs. But when the actual competition came around, my hubby wanted to come with me. So poor old Hannah this is my daughter, she got given the flick, and hubby came along. But I said to him, you're going to have to puzzle pairs with me. Now, he doesn't puzzle. I think he hasn't puzzled since he was a toddler, like everybody at kindergarten, doing a puzzle and going, this is not for me.
Right.
But we managed to get the puzzle done. I think we were 13th out. I don't know how many people were in that competition, but we ended up 13th, and it was like, that wasn't so bad. But it was really good to just to sort of see how the event actually ran as my first event, and get a feel for what was about to happen in the individuals.
Yeah, it seems
So,
like that give you a little bit of safety in terms of feeling comfortable that how all the mechanics work. You're not the stakes are fairly low. As competitions got going after COVID, were you seeing other people's results?
Yes, so that was sort of what giving me some confidence that my times were about the same sort of time as those sort of people that were at those events. So that gave me confidence to, we're going to nationals. If it's the national competition, so be it, but we're going to puzzle. We're not necessarily going to win, but we're going to puzzle. And hey, a trip to Spain would be nice if you were lucky enough.
That's right, because the winner got a trip to Spain, right? A ticket to Worlds. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So how did that competition go for you on the individuals front?
Well, it was amazing, actually, because I remember being quite nervous before the event actually started. And when I sat down, I sort of had a quiet word to my nan up above and said, hey, Nan, I'm going to need your help today. And, didn't think much more of it. And then when the puzzle was revealed, it was the Ravensburger 500 Grandad's Garden. And my grandfather was a market gardener. So I remember saying out loud, oh, Nan, you couldn't have chosen a better puzzle. And from then on, I was really calm and just puzzled the puzzle. It was a busy sort of puzzle. Those people that know Grandad's Garden, there's a lot going on in it, which suited me quite well. So it all came together. And then I started noticing the camera crew hanging around, and I'm thinking, oh, this is something, I must be going all right here, and I started getting really nervous. And I think I had about 15 or 20 pieces. I couldn't even see any holes in the puzzle where the 20 pieces go. And I had to actually start feeling for them because it's like, I'm not even seeing where these pieces are going. I was so nervous. But just the relief when I put that last piece in and I actually realised I'd won, and I looked back and gave my hubby, who was up in the gallery, a bit of a wave, and then I just burst into tears because it was just, oh my goodness, we're going to Spain, and well, I think you were here helping me, Nan, and all that sort of stuff. So it was just, it was amazing.
Wow. So how big of an event was this?
Oh, Melissa might be able to tell us how many people were actually at that first event.
I can. Give me 1 second.
Would have been close to 200.
There was 158 in solos for that nationals.
Okay, so it was quite big, and so there were cameras, and is it in a fairly sizable venue?
Yeah, it was in a fairly large community hall. We're obviously in Melbourne, so yeah, fairly large. The cameras were
Mm.
mostly there doing some recording for a documentary, which I didn't actually realise at the time. More so, I don't think it was actually live streamed, but yeah, it was more for a documentary, and then still cameras for the shots for the Facebook page.
Did they add to your nervousness?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. Because I've walked in, you can see there's South Australia, there's Marita, the South Australian state champion, and you're sort of seeing all these people that are their state champions, and I've just walked in going, oh, hi.
Did people have an expectation of who might win that competition, or was it too early in the Australian sort of cycle of competitions to know? Like, is this the first time people really had a sense of who was strong?
Yeah, so there'd been a couple of the state competitions, which gave you a bit of an inkling, I suppose, but on the whole, yeah, no, it was far too new.
And how surprised were you that you ended up finishing first? Like, when you came into the competition, did you have any idea that was a possibility?
I had no expectation at all. I didn't sort of come into the competition going, oh, I can come first, or I can come 10th, or I can come 20th, or whatever the case might be. There was absolutely no expect. I was going there to puzzle, just to puzzle, because finally there was an opportunity or an event for jigsaw puzzlers, and I've never done this before, so let's just go and have fun with it. And like I say, the nervousness sort of crept up on me as we were getting closer to start time, and just reminding myself of puzzling with Nan, I think actually helped calm the nerves. And so it was just, yeah, let's just puzzle, which that's the best thing. It's all, we're doing this stuff because we love it. We puzzle because we love it at the end of the day, whether we're fast or we're slow, whether we're training or we're just having, some fun practice on a Friday night or whatever it might be. Yeah.
So you were going into that competition for a chance to win a ticket to Worlds. You ended up with a ticket to Worlds. I suspect going in, you were like, yeah, that'd be a great possibility. Who knows? But now it really happened. I assume that you were then committed to going to Worlds. Were you excited by the possibility?
Yeah, we joked as we left because my daughter's birthday is at the end of September. So I sort of said, oh, well, if we win the trip to Worlds, we won't be home for your birthday, ha. And so it turns out that I had to sort of ring her and say, we won't be home for your birthday. And then they decided that they would come with us, which was wonderful to be able to sort of share the prize and make a bit of a family trip of it as well.
All right, so I want to switch over to Hannah because Hannah, you were at the same time you ended up at Australian Nationals. So tell me a little bit about how you got into competitive speed puzzling, and then how you got to Nationals and what your experience was like there.
Yeah, sort of similar to Katrina as well. So found out about the Australian Jigsaw Puzzle Association in 2020 during COVID, and obviously the first Worlds had happened the year before. So there was that early data, and I joined the Facebook group and got right into puzzling again. Probably where I differed to Katrina was I started doing some of the online competitions that popped up. So, but it was probably not until, yeah, late 2021, I think, that I probably started doing some of those and met a few of the people in the Australian Jigsaw Puzzle Association. I think my first event was a teams event. I'd never met anyone, never done a competition, but I went to someone's house. And there was 4 of us. We did a teams event. We won that, which was really cool. And then from there, I was like, okay, I'm in. And then started. Actually, I might have done a solo puzzle before that. But anyway, it was around the same time anyway. And I remember my first online jigsaw puzzle race. I did win that as well. So I was like, oh, this is really fun.
Winning is nice.
Winning is nice. Very much so, as a competitive person. Already, self-confessed that.
Mm-hmm.
And then my first in-person competition was the Victorian state competition. And from memory, I think that was about April 2022. And unfortunately, I went in a bit hot-headed because I was like, I've got this. I've won an online competition. I'm doing really well for myself. I'm competitive. And I actually got quite down on myself when I came 3rd. And then it took me a little while to realize, Hannah, that's okay. Like, you had fun. It was a great experience. It was just sort of like, oh, there's some other really fast people out here. And like, one girl absolutely smashed it out of the park. And then that only drove me further to get better as well, because I was like, right, we're on. I need to get better, do the best I can. And then the next one would have been nationals in November that year.
So tell me about your nationals experience.
Yeah, lots of fun, lots and lots and lots of fun. And by that stage, I had, gotten to meet a few people through the couple of in-person events I'd done and the online ones. So I was starting to form a little bit of a social bubble as well, and being on the volunteer committee as well. So really getting to know the jigsaw puzzle community, which I really valued. So I did pairs with a lady I'd met through that. And we came second, I think, which was for pairs, which was great fun, very exciting. And then in individuals, I also loved the puzzle. It was really nice image. Cameras scared the heck out of me. So they apparently I was doing quite well at the start, and then they just freaked me out. So I didn't do as well as I'd hoped, but I came fourth, which I was still really stoked with. And I hadn't met Katrina yet because it was obviously her first appearance, but seeing her win and just the absolute passion that she was, because she got thrown up on stage, I think, to say a few words, and just the passion that she had was just absolutely admirable. So I was really happy that someone that we had no idea existed had come out and won. But as you were touching on earlier, to be honest, we didn't know who was out there, so there wasn't too many hot bets at that time because it was all really new.
You said that your first in person was challenging, but by the time you got to nationals, it sounds like you were in a different headspace.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd gotten a lot more out of the whole sphere of puzzling and what it was actually there for. Whereas the first time, I think I was going in there to prove it to myself, but then found a lot more from actually, spending more time there.
How would you say the meeting other people with the same passion at a national level?
Yeah, it was huge. It was a tricky year for me outside of puzzling as well. So it was my first year after graduating from uni. I'd moved away 4 hours from Melbourne, so I didn't have many friends at all. So it was actually really lovely to find a community which I could hone into, as well as working on my own personal growth with puzzling and other things as well. And then that just absolutely blossomed from there. There's just been so much ongoing since then. It's been fantastic.
Katrina had herself hard shoved into Worlds by virtue of winning nationals and getting a ticket to move on. What propelled you into Worlds?
Similar. So one of the ladies I met in that first year of puzzling and I did that competition with, her name's Jess Bennett, and she's been at Worlds a few years as well. And I think when I first met up with her to do that teams puzzle in September or so, she said, "Oh, if we go to Worlds, do you want to be my partner?" And I was like, "Sure," just offhand. And then it gets around to January 1st when the registration's open, and she messages me and says, "I've signed us up." I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I was like, "All right, well, I'm going." And then I had to work on getting, leave off work, and then I just sort of went through with it, and it's been great.
Your hand was forced on this as well. Somebody just made the decision for you.
Correct.
So this was 2022, late 2022, if I recall, when the Australian Nationals happens. So now, Melissa, I first catch wind of you in August of 2023 in terms of when I start seeing you compete. Can you tell us a little bit about what drug you into competitive speed puzzling and your journey up to that point?
Yeah, so my first competition was actually the Queensland State Comp in 2022, but it was under my maiden name. So I got married. So that's why you probably haven't found that data. So yeah, 2022 was my very first competition. I didn't know speed puzzling competitions were a thing, but just doing them at home and people commenting, "Wow, you're quite good at that. You're quite fast at that." Caused me to Google jigsaw puzzle competitions and found the Queensland one was in 3 weeks' time.
Oh.
So I didn't have time to practice or train. Similar to Katrina, I'd just done, what I had always done, which is just casually relaxing puzzling. So I signed up, and I remember that comp. We were driving there. It was an hour away because I'm on the Gold Coast. So Brisbane is an hour drive. And our car broke down on the highway to the competition. So I was already like super nervous. And then the car broke down. And my husband, or now my husband, he was like, just get in an Uber and I'll stay with the car. So I Ubered to the competition. I remember walking in without him in my very first comp, and it was super nerve-wracking. And I was pretty stoked because I ended up placing 6th overall in that competition. And it was a pretty hard puzzle. It's Cuddly Koala, which is a fun box puzzle. So there's a lot of repetition, and all the borders are the same.
Oof.
So yeah, it's a pretty tricky first speed puzzle that I had done, and I'd never done a fun box brand either. So, but yeah, so that was a very nerve-wracking experience. But I was very happy with my result, which was just under 2 hours, which now you would like you could never kind of get those times and be in top 10 these days, because it's such a like just the progress everyone has made with their speed puzzling is, it's very, very competitive. And then I was pretty naive back then because I was pretty new to it. So I thought that you had to win a state competition to go to nationals,
Sure. Yeah.
because that was what you'd won, like your ticket to nationals. So I thought, oh, I can't go to nationals. I didn't win the state comp.
Yeah.
But it's pretty hilarious when you think about it, because that means then there would only be 6 people competing at nationals.
Well, you never know. They could take the top 5 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was disappointed. I'm like, oh, now I can't go to nationals. So when I returned to the Queensland comp again the following year, I was pretty stoked. I placed 3rd for Queensland. So I was like, okay, I'm improving. And I got chatting to Adele Arthur, who's been to Worlds a few times. And I was chatting to her after the competition, and she was just raving about Worlds, saying how fun it is, and it's a whole week-long event. And I looked at my husband and I was like, can we go? and he just kind of was like, sure, kind of shrugged and was like, yeah, let's do it. So I was like, oh my gosh, that was so exciting. So that year I went to, that was my second competition ever. I had not done an online one. So it was my second comp, and it was a year after the first comp that I had done. And then that year we ended up going to Worlds and Nationals.
So then you're all sort of on your way into Worlds separately, right? None of you knew each other at that point?
No.
I'm curious if any of you did any preparation for Worlds, having had as many as 2 competitions, maybe just 1. Katrina, had you done any competitions between Nationals and Worlds?
No, I went to Worlds very naive with just the 1 competition under my belt.
Okay, so with all of 1 competition under your belt, did you do anything different to prepare for Worlds? Any of the 3 of you? But Katrina, go ahead.
Yeah, so my only real training was just to get my hands on as many Ravensburger puzzles as I could and puzzle the Ravensburgers. No plan, no strategy, just let's get familiar with puzzling fast.
You said you were naive going in. Does that mean that you had confidence that you might do well there?
I remember actually a local radio station interviewed me, and they asked me where I would like to place. And I said, I'd like to place in the top 20. And that was it. I felt that my times were okay compared to the previous years to perhaps get in the top 20 if I had a really good puzzle and a really, good event.
What about Hannah or Melissa? Did either of you do any additional preparation in going off to Spain?
Similar to Katrina, that I had no strategy, but I just got my hands on as many puzzles as possible. I wasn't fussy about brand, so I just got everything and just did heaps of different puzzles.
You made no particular change to your process except getting a whole bunch more things in there. Did you have an expectation of how you might do, or are you going there because you thought you might do well?
I mean, my first competition had definitely humbled me. So I think from that point on, I was just having fun and going with the flow and still trying to do well, but I wasn't putting much pressure on. It was more of just this is going to be an amazing experience. Let's see how we go.
And were you there primarily with pairs in mind because you were being dragged along by a pair?
Willingly dragged along. No, I don't think I had given it a huge amount of thought. I also had other holidays planned for my trip away as well. So I was keen and happy to give it my all, but I didn't have expectations for any rankings as such.
Melissa, but what about you? What was the preparation like for you, if anything? Were you also gathering lots of puzzles?
No, no, I'm not a collector of puzzles. I would borrow some off people and like swap, but I wasn't out to get my hands on as many as possible. My husband is a very good enforcer of training. So he would say to me, and he still does, like, are you puzzling or are you training? He keeps me accountable because I guess for him, he's like, if we're going to Worlds, then like you're going to compete. So do the best you can. So even when I didn't know how to train, he kind of kept me accountable. So he's not a puzzler at all. But if he heard me say like, oh man, my left hand does nothing or my left hand holds pieces, then he would just hold on to that. So he'd walk past me and if he saw my left hand like leaning on a table or holding pieces, he'd be like, Melissa, what's your left hand doing? And I was like, oh yeah. So he would like kind of be that reminder when I get into that flow state or that stress state of speed puzzling, but I'm doing something that's detrimental, he would call me out on it. So he was really the driving force behind learning how to train. And now like I've adapted that over time and he's helped me adapt that over time. But at the beginning, that's how it started, was just him kind of listening to me say, oh, I should do this differently, and then just keeping me accountable to that.
So you had a built-in coach. You had an advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, now he's the team coach.
That was right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I did not know that. So then you're all off into Worlds. If I have my data correctly, I think that you all in your first individual heats all placed fourth. Then I see Hannah and Katrina in finals finished one place apart and by 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Had you guys had much interaction up to that point?
No.
No, nothing.
At what point did you realize that you guys had finished sort of back to back?
We were, from memory, I think we were actually seated next to each other, or was that semi-finals?
That was the semi-final. So in the
Okay.
final, yeah, we were quite apart. But yeah, it was probably not until we come off the floor, or I came off the floor, that my daughter has actually said, you and Hannah were like neck and neck, like this. So it's like, oh wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My main takeaway, sorry Katrina, but I think I've told you this before, is my main takeaway is when I found out the results, I was like, I beat Katrina Coleman! Best day of my life! Because it was 2 seconds, but it still counted.
Every second counts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How was your overall experience at Worlds?
Yeah, I was extremely inspired by the talent in the Dome, and it was very like going to Worlds, seeing the Dome, being in the city. I had looked at it that many times on Google Maps to like work my way around, and just being there was incredible. And having a week long of speed puzzling competitions was like exactly how I imagined it would be. Just so much fun. Really, really great community. Meeting the rest of the Australian team for the first time, because I hadn't met them all before, other than my pairs partner Adele, who kind of was the reason that I went.
Pairs partner's playing an outsized role here.
Yeah. Well, she talked Worlds up, and then when I said I'd go, like she lived the closest to me, so we ended up pairing up, and yeah, she was a wonderful pairs partner. But that's when I met, Hannah and Katrina at Worlds that year for the first time, because I hadn't been to a nationals before, so met them all in Spain, and yeah, obviously some great friendships formed there.
Being part of that Australian team is wonderful, and feeling like that, you were representing the country and literally on the other side of the world, and then seeing Alejandro, seeing Kristen, seeing those sort of people, and it's like, oh, there they are, it's like fangirling.
Right?
It was just wonderful. Yeah, just wonderful.
The Australian team, it's the one that I can say really feels like a team. Like it's the most cohesive group of people, and they you all show up like in colors. You're not easy to miss. Where did that come from?
So it was actually the first Australian team to go to Worlds. This was just their team uniform. This wasn't the holistic Australian community going over. It was just their team. The 4 of them bought these jerseys and wore them. And then I think because there was only 4 Australians at Worlds that year.
This was Dearne's team, I think.
Yes. So Dearne Healy, Louise Jacket, Jason,
Ellie. Oh, and
Annika.
Oh, Annika. I don't know if Ellie was. Anyway, there was only a handful of them who went over, and they wore this as their team uniform. And then the next year and the next year, as more Australians went, it just became the Australian, the team jersey, I guess. So it started out as just their 4-person team jersey, and it became the whole Australian community jersey.
That's amazing. So how did that get coordinated? Any idea? Like everybody on the Australian team showed up. It was just like, well, you're going. Here's the group of people who are going to chat about it. Here's where you can go get your shirt, kind of thing.
Yeah, the Australian Jigsaw Puzzle Association organises it for all the Australians going over.
There's other items if you want to mention it too, not just the shirt.
Yeah, so they've expanded the jersey selection. So you might have seen last year at Worlds there was the basketball shorts to go with it.
I did, yeah.
The jackets, the track jackets, and there was also track pants as well to go to just get the whole uniform. Obviously all optional, not mandatory.
Did anybody opt out? I saw so many of those outfits.
I think we all had jackets, but not many people got the shorts and the pants.
Mm-hmm.
The pants are bright yellow.
Yeah.
It's quite a fashion statement.
I feel like if any country's doing a good job of representing what an Olympic team might look like for jigsaw puzzling, Australia is it.
I would love for other countries to adopt this. I would love to walk into the dome and just see like every country have a jersey. That would be amazing.
Does it get in the way of your personal expression, like your ability to, like, shirts are the thing, right? Everybody's got a shirt that expresses their team in some way. What do you do if you're wearing the team jerseys?
You might have seen last year at Worlds, like as a team, we use different ways to express our unity as a team. So we had like gold scrunchies, gold stars in our hairs for the Aussie All Stars. We had tattoos on our team's final. We put little Aussie tattoos on us. Oh yeah, and we had shoes, matching Aussie shoes that Rhianna did for us. So we did find other ways to differentiate ourselves from the other Australians and feel like it's us as a team, as the Aussie All Stars, to express ourselves. So
I think there's also so much pride with coming from the Australian bigger team that I didn't feel a need to break away from it either. Like I was very happy to be representing that.
All right, Rhianna, I've had you quiet for long enough. While this is all going on, you didn't go to Worlds that year, if I'm correct. Lead us into how you got into competitive jigsaw puzzling, and then as part of your journey, did you even notice that Worlds was going on? And maybe tell us if you did a little bit about that.
Before I answer your question, let me say this has been the best 30 minutes of my life, listening to 3 of my top favorite friends in the world of puzzling and outside the world talk about how passionate they are about puzzling in general, and just getting to hear it all again is so lovely.
You guys don't talk about this continuously?
Not
the origin days.
I think. Not the glory days, you know? But it's so lovely. Just I have an enormous amount of respect for these 3, and as you'll hear how I got into this, I'm always over the moon to be part of the Aussie All Stars team. But how did I get into it? In the weirdest way possible is how I got into speed puzzling, because I had some friends round one night in 2022. And one of them was complaining to me that they'd heard all day from their co-worker about how they had to attend a speed jigsaw puzzle competition and how boring it was. And a friend of mine,
they're clearly doing it wrong. They're just objectively wrong if that's what they think.
Yeah, her co-worker wouldn't shut up about how boring it was. But it perked the ears of both myself and a friend of mine, saying, wait a minute, speed jigsaw puzzles? Because this was just after COVID, of when I borrowed a lot of her puzzles. So we knew the 2 of us were puzzlers by now, and speed jigsaw puzzling, we thought this could be something we could get along with. So then we did some Googling, and we found out that the competition had really just gone, hence why she was talking about it to her with her co-worker. So it was ages until we would be able to compete. Our first
which competition had just gone by?
So the 2022 Queensland State competition, which was where Mel's first competition, I believe. So we started practicing. Her and I have practiced every Tuesday night to compete in pairs eventually. We weren't doing it for a particular competition. We just wanted to see how fast we could puzzle together.
So you were already going for speed at that point.
Yes, completely for speed. Yes. So because we both liked puzzles and then we found out speed jigsaw puzzling was a thing, we thought we'd try it out. We realized we were okay as a pair, but didn't really have anything to compare it off. There's no myspeedpuzzling.com at this time. So really you've only got other competitions to look back on. But then we started up an Instagram to post time lapses of what we were doing because we were talking to our friends and colleagues about it, and they said, I think this could be quality content. You should post something about it. So I started Peace of Mind Puzzles on Instagram as a way of posting our time lapses. And the first post that we did got the attention of Kristen from Norway.
Mm-hmm.
And she completed the puzzle that we did as a pair about 15 minutes faster than we did it as a pair.
I'm not sure that's the kind of attention you want.
Well, to us, it was so exciting because I've always been a fangirl of the puzzle community since joining Instagram. So to have Kristen somewhat know who I was a big deal. So I competed in a tiny competition for charity in November of 2022, which Melissa has kindly left out of her timeline, which is funny because I did compete against her in this tiny charity competition in 2022. And I'd like to say that I won because I did, and I beat Melissa Townsend, which was my moment like Hannah, where she beat Katrina Coleman. So I had heard of the name and I'd seen her around in the Australian Jigsaw Puzzle Association kind of community, which I'd only really just joined after that competition in November. But my pairs partner and I took out first in the pairs and I took out first in the individual. I now look back and realize it's likely because I'd done that puzzle the night prior. But
just coincidentally?
That's fine. It's just the luck of jigsaw puzzle competitions. Sometimes the cookie crumbles in that way, so that's okay. And then we went off to compete in the Queensland State competition in 2023. And we placed pretty well as a pair, and then I placed 6th as an individual. So I was very happy. I'd been competing, practicing, I should say, mostly in pairs rather than individuals at that stage. And then after this competition, I moved more towards solos. So I started competing in the solo competitions. But it was 2023 that really I started to find the community and the love for it. I watched every minute of 2023 Worlds. I slept in the guest room for 7 nights, pretty much for the whole time, because I was up at ridiculous hours. So Worlds here in Australia is any time between 6 p.m. and 4 a.m. It's overnight. So I didn't sleep with my partner for a week. I slept in the guest room watching it and waking up sleeping between events where I possibly could to watch it. So I knew these 3 and they had no idea who I was because I was fangirling over them at 1:30 in the morning with bare minimal sleep, cheering them on and seeing them, as you mentioned, all place 4th in their qualifying heats. And then the ridiculously close race for 19th and 20th from Hannah and Katrina, and seeing Mel place 32nd. It was just incredible to watch the whole Australian team at Worlds. And it took up such a massive part of my life, watching it and living it virtually as best as I could. But I didn't think I was really ready to go to Worlds. I hadn't competed very much. My times were okay, but I'm my biggest critic, so I thought, well, I'm not getting the times like these girls are. And it was only when Archaeologist Desk came out in the qualifying round of 2023 Worlds that I'd actually just done that puzzle about a week or 2 prior, and I would have placed within the top 10 of that qualifying round. And I commented on the live stream at, I don't know what hour it was by now, I was delirious, but I commented saying that I got 50 minutes. And Valerie said, "Oh, there's somebody here from Australia in the live stream. She says that she did it in 50 minutes. Well, where are you? You should be here."
So it's
That's
Valerie's
all I
fault.
needed, Rob. That's it. I was booking the ticket for next year. Done. I was off. So hearing other people in the community say you should be here, and I spoke to a few people in the AJPA that I'm close with, and they said that my times are comparable. I really should be in that world-class team. So I decided to put a bit more effort in, and then went last year.
How did the idea for this team start to come together?
So I'd spoken to Mel a little bit, being both Queensland based, and we'd competed against each other in some local competitions. So I knew Mel quite well, but I'll let her tell the story for the rest of it.
So I met Hannah at Worlds 2023, and we really got along in Spain. We spent a lot of time together, and we decided that if we were going to come back to Worlds again in 2024, that we would pair up. So we decided that in Valladolid that year that, yep, let's come back. After the closing ceremony, we were, having a glass of champagne, and we said, yeah, let's come back and let's pair up. And then I think, Katrina, did you reach out to us and say, hey, girls, if you're going back, do you want to form a team?
Yeah, I did. I didn't team that year, so I just did pairs and individuals, and because I thought that was enough for me. But I saw how much fun the teams were, and I was like, I've got to get a team next year. And I'd heard on the grapevine that Hannah had paired up with Melissa, and I'm like, wow, that's a strong pairing. I need to touch base with these girls and see if they've got a team organised, because, yeah, we need to do this. So, yeah, I think I touched out to Melissa and said, hey, I heard you guys are pairing up. Have you got a team organised? Would you like to team up? And then, so then back to you, Melissa, said yes, and we need a fourth.
Yeah, so then we needed the fourth member, and I said, I know a girl in Queensland, and she's very quick, and she might be keen to come to Worlds again. So I reached out to Rhianna, and that was how we got our fourth member.
About what time would this have been?
January 1st, 2024, the day that Worlds tickets are released. I exactly remember I was in the car driving when I got the message saying, would you like to be a part of a team with Katrina Coleman, Hannah Farthing and Melissa Townsend? And I said, yes, absolutely. So I was shocked. And I forgot to mention, but I went to Nationals in 2023. And the girls will laugh at me for telling this, but because I'm a massive fangirl of the three of them, and both Katrina and Hannah had no idea who I was, when I was at Nationals, I bought raffle tickets off Hannah Farthing. I remember very well. They were not winning. It's a shame. And I met Katrina Coleman in a Subway sandwich shop with my mum. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And neither of them remember these interactions, Rob. So when I was asked to be part of the team, I was fangirling a lot more than they were.
Did you ever imagine that you would be on a team with these folks going off to Worlds, competing for top prizes?
I still pinch myself now, and I've been in a team with them for over a year.
Because arguably people are fangirling over you guys now.
I know. In fact, we've had some, and it's the sweetest thing ever. It is so lovely. Melissa and I were recently in Perth for the Western Australian state competition, and we had some lovely people come up to us and say, oh my gosh, could we get a photo with you? And I thought, oh my gosh, they're me, but a year ago. So it's really lovely to have, to be in the different position now, but still remembering and still fangirling now that I get to be with these lovely three ladies.
The Australian national competition is later in the year, so it happens after Worlds in the year. Three of you have been rolling directly in, well, not directly, but into nationals, having come out of Worlds, having done well in Worlds, having had some experience, potentially some confidence. What were your expectations going into nationals? And especially for, I think, Katrina, who was defending champ, you guys had all done well in Worlds itself. Did this add a pressure to your experience?
It did, yes. And the history would have it that it was overwhelming pressure. And I failed miserably. No, not quite, but yeah. So yes, it did add a pressure. I learnt a lot about, setting up some pre-race routines. I happened to pair with my daughter at the nationals when we were puzzling individually. She sat opposite me, sorry. And it just felt like I was always waiting for her to help, like we were teaming instead of getting in my own zone and doing my own puzzle. I hadn't done the puzzle before. It's a Disney puzzle. I'm not a Disney person, so I didn't have any knowledge of the characters in the Disney puzzle, or very limited knowledge of the characters in the puzzle. But yeah, and I think just coming back off Worlds, I was really happy with what had happened at Worlds, and it was sort of a bit of you've got to try and maintain that intensity to take it into nationals. It's a really odd sort of feeling. You're working so hard for Worlds, but then you get back and you realise that nationals is just around the corner, so I've got to keep going. And I really needed a break.
Hannah, what was your experience like going into nationals?
I had a great time. So again, was linked in with the volunteering side of things, which was amazing because I still had that community going strong. Pressure in terms of the puzzle itself, no, I just had a lot of fun. However, there is a very hilarious video of me from Mel's husband where I struggled to open the bag for over a minute at the start of the competition.
Was this the first time you've opened a bag?
One would think.
It was the plastic shrink wrap on the box.
The shrink wrap, sorry, that's it, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I didn't have any, like a knife or scissors or anything. And I couldn't get my fingernail under. Like, I struggled for a really long time.
This is the only thing I'm actually good at, is opening that part.
Yeah, so I failed miserably with that. I did overall. I was very happy. But afterwards, Diane, the president of the AJPA, she was absolutely appalled. She saw this video and said, "Hannah, you need help." So she takes me out the back to the stack of leftover boxes that hadn't been used. And she's like, "I'm going to teach you how to open a box. You can't be going to Worlds and embarrassing us like this."
Wow. All right. I like that she took you out back. She did
take me out back. And then I successfully learned how to open a shrink wrap box. So imagine my disappointment when I find out that Ravensburger gets rid of the shrink wrap after I've practiced and bought new puzzles specifically for that purpose. And now we have to deal with stickers. And I got to start all over again.
Yes. Well, share for the audience what technique you ended up learning that you would have used.
Look, most people don't need to be taught. Apparently, you pick up the box, you put it against your chest with two hands, and you sort of pull it with tension to the side. It took me a number of goes to get the hang of it, but and I actually did, because I had always just gotten secondhand puzzles off Facebook or op shops. I'd never had new puzzles. So then after that incident, I had a friend who bought me a birthday voucher or something, and they said, "This is purely for new puzzles, so you can learn how to open the box. I don't care what you do with the puzzles, you just need to learn how to open it."
I love that this was a community effort. Everybody's going to make sure Hannah can open a box.
So when it came to deciding who's going to open the box for teams, no way. I wasn't allowed anywhere near it.
Yeah, and then they moved to stickers, so that whole thing just went away. Melissa, how was your expectations coming into nationals? Because memory serves, you did all right.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, like what Katrina said, after Worlds, I really felt like I needed to take a break from puzzling because it was just so intense. But with nationals around the corner, you can't. You got to keep the pressure on and keep training, especially with the prize being the ticket to Worlds the following year. So you the prize is too good to kind of take your foot off the accelerator a little bit. So yeah, I kept training. I think going to Worlds, you got used to a lot more pressure being at Worlds. So there's a lot more cameras, there's a lot more volunteers, there's a lot more spectators. So being at an Australian competition actually felt, I don't know, the pressure was nowhere near as intense as the Dome. So I think that actually helped being like going from Worlds to a Nationals in that sense. And yeah, I obviously did well and really enjoyed the Disney puzzle. I'm very familiar with the Disney movies, so I think that really helped. I could pick up a piece and I know, okay, yep, that's a Lion King, yep, that's a Jungle Book, and kind of without having the whole framework there, just knowing from the tiniest little feature what image that would be part of in the puzzle. And again, like similar to that Queensland puzzle I did where the edges are all identical, same with this one, all the edges were identical. Yeah, I must be all right at that.
You did fairly well at that competition, but I forget exactly how well. Could you remind me how you finished that competition?
Yeah, so I did that Disney family puzzle in 46 minutes and 5 seconds.
That's not really what I mean.
Oh,
One.
oh, I came first.
You came first. That's right.
I did.
It's good that you're so proud of that.
Oh, I am so proud of that. I remember the at Worlds, the cameras are right there on you, and they weren't at that competition. So I actually didn't know how well I was doing because my desk wasn't surrounded by volunteers and cameras.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So when I actually thought that no one knew how well I was doing, and because I didn't, there was no one in my peripheral around my table. So when I looked up to be like, where is everyone? And they were like, because I was, I think, in the second row back from the front, second or third row. So they're actually standing at the front of the room, but I still had all the cameras on me and everyone were there taking my time, but they just weren't surrounding my table. So that was like a nice feeling because I looked up thinking, where is everyone? And then they were all there clapping and staring at me. So I was like, oh, okay, good. I wasn't forgotten. And then I ran and gave my husband a hug because, yeah, he was such a big supporter of mine. So, yeah, it was a really, really good feeling.
Between the four of you, you came in first, fourth, seventh, and 11th in that competition in the individuals. That seems like a pretty formidable team to put together.
Yes, it does.
Results would show it is.
Starting January 1st, the idea of the team started coming together. What about the name for the team? Did that come together at the same time?
Hannah doesn't probably remember this, but it was her that came up with it and registered us.
Oh.
So we started brainstorming ideas right away, coming up with anything. We knew it had to be Aussie related, but weren't certain on what specifically it was going to be. And then Aussie All Stars was floated and it sounded pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got a nice ring to it. And I like that, and I don't think I only speak for myself here, but it's a name that can last a legacy, not just with the four of us, but a whole new team could be formed in 10 years' time when we're retired from speed puzzling, who knows, still under the same name. And I like that that can continue. It may not have all four of us in every single year, but as speed puzzling grows and some of us come in and out for different family reasons or life reasons, we've still got that name that we can carry forward.
This team came together with the intention of going to Worlds or doing well at Worlds. Like, some of you are more competitive than others. Was the idea that you really wanted to put a lot of effort into doing well? Because not all teams are made that way, right? Like some teams are made out of folks who really enjoy being together or think they'll have a good time or are compatible. Like maybe they're going for individuals and the team is just the fun thing that they also do. Where did the Aussie All Stars as a team fit in your guys' collective psyche?
We wanted to get Australia on the podium.
It was that clear.
That's what the expectation was, that we wanted to be on the podium. Is that up until that year, Australia hadn't had a presence on the podium.
In any individual pairs or teams, Australia had never been featured in the top 10 of Worlds.
Mm-hmm. And that was true of all four of you. All four of you had that vision of like, we want to bring Australia into the podium.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was coming home with a cube regardless. I wanted a cube little trophy.
That's right. Was there a plan or did a plan develop? Because if I'm looking at participation in events over the last few years, suddenly you guys seem to be at every state event in Australia. And so it feels like maybe there was some sort of intentionality there. So I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about like, what did you guys start to put into action to make that happen?
So Rhianna, do you want to talk about, I guess, the distance between us all and why going to comps was important?
Yeah, absolutely. So Australia is a very big place, as you probably know, and we really don't live very close. So when it was decided that we were going to be a team, we knew that, well, one, we all had to meet in person at least once, because I had never, Katrina and Hannah had no idea that they had never
Mm.
met me. So it was important for us to get together as a team to actually bond and, of course, to do some puzzles. So the distance, we've found a couple of examples to show people of your listeners how far away we are
Oh,
from
nice.
each other. So for myself in Brisbane to Katrina down in Launceston in Tasmania, it's the same distance as New York to Dallas or Madrid to Warsaw. So it's quite substantial to travel. It's not something that you just randomly decide to do. It needs planning. And so state competitions are the easiest way for us to organise some time where we could also get some competitions in, but also get to, sit down and have dinner together and maybe do a puzzle.
The goal was to have at least some practice. Did you end up having much practice at all? Were you able to get together outside of the competitions?
Not really. No, we never met up outside of a competition.
Mm.
We decided to go to every competition, one, so Hannah and Melissa could, of course, pair together. And when I realized that Katrina didn't have a pair, I put my hand up as tribute. And so
Wow.
we were able to compete together in state competitions, which was wonderful to get some of that practice in a comp environment rather than just at home. But no, outside of competitions, we didn't get to meet up.
I think it was 3 in total. I think 3 competitions. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then I think I might have
that
done an extra one in Queensland, but I think with the team it was only 3 times.
Yes. Yeah.
Clearly, those times would have been maximally important. How did you take advantage of them? Did you, like, in one way, much like many of you said as you're preparing for your first worlds, like some of it is just repetition, right? Let's just get a lot of puzzles in. So for teams, you can do that same sort of thing. Like, we just need to get together and make sure that we know how each other works and make sure our hands are like not running into each other. Was that the intent, or were you trying to maximize that in other ways? The opportunities you had.
Fortunately, we are all fairly fast puzzlers, so the gap between the individuals and the next competition of pairs, we would get together and try and smash out 1,000 piece, because usually the individuals are running for 2.5 to 3 hours, so we nearly always had time to get one in there.
Yeah, we were finding a back room at the competition venue, finding a spare trestle table and coming together and puzzling. There will be some people from the AJPA or that attended the New South Wales competition last year that will remember finding the Aussie All Stars huddled across a small little table in a back room of the competition.
Right. I love the vision of like a team with the name of All Stars sort of in a back like storage area around a small table, but also like that's how you become All Stars, right? Is like the dedication and commitment that you're going to use every moment to puzzle your best. So I love the both of those visions simultaneously. Were there any things that you guys needed to work through team wise, in so much as you hadn't puzzled together and your goal was to podium at Worlds? The first couple of times you got together might be a time that you would identify some things that you need to work through. Is that true?
I'd say there was. One of the things that we determined earlier that I need to be seated near the box because I wear glasses normally, but when I'm puzzling, I don't wear glasses. So if I was seated too far away, I actually couldn't see the image. So little things like that, just little, your personal idiosyncrasies that we sort of needed to discuss and say, well, this is how I like to puzzle. How can we incorporate that into our team dynamics?
Yeah, I found something that was tricky to get my head around was because I didn't really know, like I knew Mel a little bit, from Spain, but I didn't know Real Katrina. So I spent far too long being like nice. And then I realized that I was being nice and not doing any of the puzzle. Whereas it was better to, do some of the puzzle and say, oh, actually, I suck at this. Can I do this instead? And that took a little bit of working out how to feel comfortable around these people that I'd just met and saying, no, I don't want to do that. You can do it. So
yeah. And how did that work out? Because
really
that is a key component in communication as a team, is being able to articulate the things you do and don't want to do. Because I think I've said before, like one of the benefits of having a team is there might be somebody else who would enjoy doing the thing you're hating doing right now.
That's where Rhi really shone in our team. So you can explain your role a bit, Rhi.
So I have the pleasure of being able to puzzle with all 3 of these people individually. So I had the practice with Katrina with pairs. I'd puzzled with Mel and seen her puzzle a lot in our local competitions in Queensland. And then Hannah is, as once you'd gotten out of your shell, Hannah, you were very vocal around what you like and didn't like, which is perfect in a team environment. We need that. And so it was kind of thrown upon me as a role to be the project manager and to learn and understand the strengths and weaknesses of everybody in our team, so that as chief sorter, I could give them the section that was most likely going to be the best for them. So that worked really well when everyone had, was getting the sections that they're going to thrive in. That seems to be a good strategy that we use, and it works to my strength because I love sorting and I'm a massive sorter in my own puzzles. So to be chief sorter of the Aussie All Stars and to give them what they need as quickly as I can is excellent.
Finding a person who enjoys sorting is fairly rare. Most of the elite puzzlers that I know do sorting because they have to, not because they want to. So it's an asset. So tell me, project manager, as you're doling out individual projects to the rest of the team, what kinds of things are you handing out to who?
Well, first things first. Katrina, she's our sky girl. So that's, if there's a sky in the puzzle, regardless of how little it is, Katrina's getting it.
Here's the 3 pieces of sky, you go crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, we had some sky in our qualifying round at Worlds, but in finals, the Venice puzzle probably had only, Katrina, 20, 30 pieces of sky, but you got it anyway and you smashed it. So she's sky. That's priority number 1. Mel, she's our feature builder. So think it's got a sloth or a lion or something in it or a car. That Mel's your girl for that. And then Hannah, she's your busy. She's going to put the piece where it needs to go in the general vicinity of where it goes. She's a that. And people, I feel like bright colors, people, organize little sections. Hannah's your girl for that. So somewhere in between, they can all do all of those, but that tends to be the strength.
And then aside from sorting, at some point, usually you run out of things to sort. You got to assemble things. Rhianna, what are you looking for?
Oh yeah, me. I tend to come in when it's at the nearer the end, when it's not specific sections left, but more the mismatch of pieces that I couldn't tell really what they were or what type of green they were. But if I think back to the world's qualifying puzzles, they were, I think I did the house, the castle. Did I? I can't even remember now. We've blocked out those puzzles.
I actually can't remember what the puzzles were.
I'm about to ask you about them.
Yeah, so after sorting, it might also be shape sorting, which obviously was needed for one of our 2 qualifying puzzles, which I'm sure we'll get to, that everybody has talked about ever since we chose it, but that's a spoiler for soon. And Hannah's just remembered what the puzzle was.
Yes.
Erase it from your memory.
You had several chances to get together around competitions. You were able to sort of work on things and just get repetition in. By the time that Worlds was really starting to loom, did you guys feel like you were in a strong place? Did you feel like, yeah, podium is really possible for us?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Quietly confident.
Yeah, we kind of felt like we were flying under the radar a little bit too. Because Australians hadn't been on the podium before, we felt like we were kind of coming in a bit unknown. There wasn't a lot of info on the Aussies. We were a strong team. We're made up of 4 very strong puzzlers. So we knew that, and we had the confidence that, our times were comparable. But we did feel like we were flying under the radar, coming in together as one team, as our first kind of debut as the Aussie All Stars.
Oh, I have a thought, just because there's action going on in Melissa's background. Tell me about the role of this coach.
True.
So Nathan Townsend has played a big part. He's my husband. He's played a big part in my puzzling, as I mentioned. He has kept me very accountable in my own training. So when I started pairing with Hannah, Nathan became that presence. There he is.
Nathan's in the background now.
Nathan became a bit of a pairs coach because, like, whenever she was up here for competitions, or Nathan came with us sometimes to the state comps as well. And he works from home, so he's often around when we are training, and he will just spot things. So he'll sit down and talk with Hannah and learn her strengths and weaknesses. And he just knows the right questions to ask. And he's very good at articulating what we can't as puzzlers, and it's pretty incredible for a non-puzzler to be able to do that.
He's very analytical. He can just spot problems and then tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Might not be able to tell you how to fix it because that requires the puzzling. But the noticing the problem, I think, is half of the battle. That when you're doing the same thing over and over and over of just doing a puzzle, you are not thinking of it, as you say, Hannah, with that analytical brain that Nathan has.
And then apply methods into improving it as well. So he's done up some pretty impressive spreadsheets for us where we can just enter in the data and boom, there's a graph that appears. And so he's been very instrumental in my progress as an individual, as well as Hannah and I in pairs last year. And as a team, he's kind of, again, he's been there, he's been advising us, and he's a huge support. He's there on the sideline. All of we call them husbands at Worlds. They're all on the sidelines cheering us on. So he did get asked last year at Worlds to join the commentary booth with Val and Diane to talk about his coaching, and he compared himself to like a personal trainer, I guess. So he said that similar to a personal trainer, if you know what you need to do to get fit, right? You know you need to jump on the treadmill or do push-ups or whatever, but the personal trainer is there to tell you, okay, do this many, and just to keep you accountable to doing those things. So it's not about telling you what you have to do, but just keeping you accountable to doing it, which is essentially what he is for us.
Yeah, I've heard other folks talk about their significant others in the same sort of way. This is something I learned from Devin and out of Canada as significant others. Is that
I haven't heard that.
I like that.
All credit to her. Is that I've heard a few other folks say that having their respective partners just be able to, like, you said you wanted to do this, I'm just going to make sure that you notice that you are doing the wrong thing here, as a way of just improving. Now, this is a good time for a tangent. Barring the sort of the significant other who's just going to obsessively watch over your shoulder as you puzzle, Mel and Katrina both are advocates of doing video, which seems like maybe it accomplishes the same thing.
It does, but it just means that, like, it frees up Nathan's time, so he doesn't have to be.
I was gonna say you're overloading here. You got a person in the place, and you're also.
He was the one that said, like, I can't always be here. You should film yourself and review the footage. And so he's kind of replaced himself with the camera. And so now I will time lapse myself puzzling and rewatch the footage. But he's still there in a way, because he'll come up to me and he'll say, "Did you review that footage?" And I'll be like, "No," because I'll just start the next puzzle. And he's like, "Why didn't you review the footage?" And I was like, "Oh," like, so he's still, even though he's not the one watching me and not giving that critique, he's like, "You should be now critiquing yourself. Why aren't you?" So he's still there, like, as a presence, but he's just replaced himself with the camera essentially and made me do the work.
It's still keeping you accountable.
Yes.
That's what it's all about.
So, Katrina, do you use it in the same way to keep yourself accountable?
Yes, and I tend to not use a time lapse though. I tend to record my puzzling in real time, and I just find time lapse lulls you into a false sense of security that you're going a bit faster than you actually are. And when you actually watch it back in real time, you actually realise how slow it is. So you think you're tipping the pieces out on the table super fast, and you're turning them over super fast, and you watch it back, and it's like, oh, tick, tick, tick. So then that there's some room for improvement. So I find that the best way to sort of review my footage. I'll speed ahead to a certain section where I know I've struggled, and it's like, well, what have I done here? What can I do better here? But yeah, definitely in real time, not in time lapse for me.
Katrina, what are some things that maybe you've discovered using a video camera and watching it back that you may not have discovered on your own?
I think it's just being mindful of when you get a bit bogged down in a puzzle. It's like, what are you doing right now? What were you thinking at that point? Because a lot of time it's what's happening in your head that actually is affecting what's happening on the table. So there is that. There is are you reaching to the left when the pieces that you're working on are on the right? So are you actually being economical with your movements and things like that? So that's probably the two things that I've taken out of that. It's reviewing where your headspace is, even though you can't sort of hear what your head was thinking. You can see that you're struggling, and you're like, what was I thinking right there? Why have I done it like that?
Hannah and Rhianna, do you have your own ways of sort of evaluating how you're doing practice-wise, or are you mostly just, again, like we talked about before, doing repetition? Like, if you don't have the eye of a person or a camera overlooking you, how do you find out ways to improve?
I'm a little bit slack. I'm short on time. So unfortunately it does come down a lot to just doing a puzzle because I finally have some time off to do that. I think I've gotten a lot out, probably mostly from my time with Mel partnering and having Nathan there at those times. But like from those practice sessions, like, and when we would just smash through 20 puzzles in a weekend or so, but be analytical about all of those, I could then use a lot of that in my own puzzling and apply it. But I must admit, I'm not as strategic and critiquing of my own puzzling. Not as much as I should be or would like to be, but I do the best I can for now.
I'm a bit the same, Hannah. Mine comes in waves. I'll have a month where I'm really focused and determined, and I might film myself and, put it in a spreadsheet. And then other times I just get bogged down and think, I just want to do a puzzle. So it comes and goes. Pre-Worlds, I tend to be a bit more strategic than other times in the year. But as the girls have said, it's with Australia's competition schedule, it's very comp heavy almost all year. You don't get a lot of downtime, and we're all at risk of burnout of puzzling and speed puzzling too much. So I try and make sure that I'm always still enjoying puzzling, because I'd hate for that enjoyment to go away.
Skipping back to now to your coming to Worlds, Rhianna, this was your first coming to Worlds.
Yes.
When you sort of arrived, being the fangirl that you are, what was this like for you?
So we got into Valladolid quite late on the night before the opening ceremony, and Mel and Nathan came to our hotel to say hello and have dinner with us. And she said, "Should we go and see the dome?" And my reaction's exactly the same as it was. I just couldn't believe the thought that we were going to go and see the dome. I had already imagined that we would go and see it tomorrow, but she said, "We can go and see it tonight. It'd probably be all lit up." And I looked at Michael, who's my husband, and said, "Can we go to see the dome?" And it was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock at night by now, and we'd done traveling the whole day. So we walked in the cold Valladolid night and saw the dome, and I started to cry. So it was all very exciting. And yeah, I haven't stopped fangirling about it, Rob. We met Amelia, we met Alejandro, we met Victor, and yeah, we met lots of people, and I have no words.
It seemed like you all did well at individuals, practicing or whatever it was paying off. Especially, it seemed like, Katrina, you crushed that event, beating Alejandro by a few seconds. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
I've always said you've got to be careful what you wish for. So I did have a vision board, and I'm not very good at Photoshop. So I actually took a photo. I printed off a photo of Alejandro standing on the podium holding his trophy. And I decided that because I wasn't very good at Photoshop, I'd print out the same size photo of me standing in front of the dome at Valladolid, and I'd put my body and head over the top of Alejandro's legs, essentially. So on my vision board is me and Alejandro standing on the stage, the podium at Worlds. So to actually stand up there, because at that time we were classified that we'd tied, to actually stand up on stage. It was very emotional, as you can probably recall, those people who do remember that. But yeah, all I can say is just be careful what you wish for, what you plan for, because it actually can turn out exactly as you planned.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a cautionary tale, though. That seems like be careful in the best possible way.
I'll be careful in the best possible way, but the fact that we both morphed into the one person on stage on my vision board and actually were both on stage at the same time is sort of that's the weird bit.
And you were all pretty much tied. Yeah, I didn't even put that together.
We've been very cautious about what Katrina's put on her vision board
powerful.
for this year. Put it that way. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad I know that now. By the same token, Melissa and Hannah, you guys finished 10th in your pairs. That seemed like that was a pretty great experience as well.
Yeah,
It was.
we were stoked. I think definitely the highlight for us was the pairs semis where we won.
Yes. Correct.
That just blew us both away. And you could tell, like, in the footage where Hannah literally screamed when we won. It, like, that to me is, like, coming 10th was amazing, but coming first in the semis was like I can't even explain that feeling. Like, that was incredible. And yeah, coming 10th was incredible as well. But because they changed the final puzzle to be 1,000, you know, quite maybe it was a month or two before the actual competition. So we had only trained on 500s all year, thinking that the finals would be a 500. And then when they announced that it was going to be 1,000 piece, Hannah and I had only one training session left when she came up for the Queensland comp to actually do a few thousands together. So we had done countless 500s together, but only a handful of thousands. And that really showed in our semifinals when we came first, that how well that practice paid off. And yeah, I think if we had known earlier about the 1,000-piece final, we would have maybe come a few ranks higher. But again, we were so stoked with what we came. Yeah.
Did you guys do a lot of practicing on picking which puzzles out of a batch you would do?
We didn't pay off.
Like, we'd send no.
We didn't learn anything.
It clearly didn't work very well. Cow in a bathtub. Oh, sorry, something caught in my throat there. But like, if we were out and saw a Ravensburger, we love Ravensburger puzzles and puzzles in general. We might send each other a photo and be like, "Would we do this?" But nothing major. But that didn't really help us. As the project manager, I got the final say when there was a tie of what we should choose.
So you did have a plan. Like, there was at least a chain of command.
That was our plan. Yeah, would be that someone had to be the final say in case there was a 2-2 split. We didn't want to waste any time making the decision. You don't get very long, and we'd hate to have two people walk out and go, "Oh, we should have picked XYZ or whatever." In the end, I feel like it was quite a unanimous decision that we should pick cow in a bathtub, which we obviously now realize was incorrect. However, it did give us our biggest learning, which I think everybody learnt from that, including us and other teams, is that Ravensburger puzzles are dark. They are dark in the pieces, darker than the box. It didn't look too bad in the box. We thought there was a lot of color differentiation. In reality, I shape sorted about 500 pieces. So
yeah, okay.
So we were happy to come second in that.
Yeah.
Because that was brutal.
Not surprisingly, you qualified into finals. You're looking down the possibility of actually doing the thing you came here to do. Did that play into what you were thinking as you were getting set up for the finals to actually happen?
I remember one conversation that we had right on the sidelines before we walked in. And that was, by this time, Teams is the last event left. And the girls know how much of a big deal it was for me to be in the dome and how exciting it was. We knew we were on a podium finish for pairs. We knew we were on a podium finish for individuals. So I was the one left. And I feel like it took a lot of the pressure away from what I saw of the other three, because you guys, and you can say your own story, but I remember Katrina said to me, you know, let's get you up there with us, because this was my last opportunity to get onto the podium. And having all three of them work hard so that I could get up there too it was really special.
It wasn't so much pressure. It was just like, let's just go and do what we've set out to do from the 1st of January. This is what we've been working for. Let's just go and we can do it now. Let's do it. Here's our chance.
Can you talk me through a little bit about how that finals went?
I remember we got to the table and you don't get to see the puzzles, unlike in the semis where you see the table, the puzzles on the table, and you get to deliberate which of the 2 of the 4 you're going to do. In finals, you take them out the bag, the time is already going. And I remember Rhianna made the decision which puzzle we're going to do first so fast that I didn't even see what the 2 options were. She just literally said, she pulled them out and said, this one, and then the other one was gone. So I didn't even know what was coming next. The decision was so fast to do the jungle first. And then we were going. But I do remember that just being like, whoa, I don't even know what the options are. That was that fast. And it's funny because of Rhianna's role, which is she needs to see the box to know what she was going to give everyone. So there's actually footage on the live stream where we're all like busily flipping all the pieces, and Rhianna's just standing there looking at the cover of the box, and she's studying it for a reason.
Yeah, sure.
But it looks funny when you look back on it, because it looks like she's not doing anything, but really that's the most important thing she could be doing at that time.
Well, it's a brand new puzzle. I've never seen it, and I'm not anywhere near the box. It's down near Katrina. So I took all the time I possibly could to have a bit of a look at what we were dealing with before we had to deal with it. But yeah, it is hilarious, the start of that footage, Mel. I watched it back recently, and it does look like I've just completely zoned out. I'm not puzzling. I'm like, wow, a brand new Ravensburger 1,000-piece puzzle. It's gorgeous.
Did you guys see this puzzle over here? Look, it's cool.
Have you seen? It's lovely.
I do know a few other people who give themselves 10 seconds as part of their part of their process to just sit and look at the box, right? Because for certain kinds of puzzles and certain kinds of puzzlers, that can be really important. Like that is what cements that thing in your brain. I have a brain like a sieve, so it falls right back through. So I'm the kind of person who's just always looking at the box. But some people like that is that's the anchor. And so, as is always talked about, there's so many ways of doing jigsaw puzzle competitions. And so if that's what works for you, that's what works for you.
It's funny you say that, because I find when I used to think looking at the box was wasting time because I'm not building. But now my mentality is like looking at the box for a few seconds can save you minutes. That's kind of how I think about it now, is just take a few seconds because it could save you minutes. Like because you're taking in the image just that little bit longer. So yeah, it's interesting that you made that point, because that's something that I've learned only just recently to do.
I've got a podcast you can listen to that has tips like this.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
But I think it's an internal mentality thing. So
totally is. Yeah. Sometimes some things you can't learn by hearing them. You have to learn by just experiencing them over time. Absolutely. At what point did you have a sense that you guys were closing in on your goal during the competition? Or was that even on your mind? Was like the puzzles were out? Was the goal just to do the work that's in front of you?
It was for me. Like once that puzzle's out and you're in puzzle race mode, you actually don't hear, or you shouldn't hear or know what's going on around you. So it is just get that puzzle done as fast as you can get that puzzle done. And the funny thing with teams is when you hear a clap, you actually don't know if it's the first team finishing their second puzzle or another team finishing their first puzzle. So you tend to completely wipe all of that noise. That's just peripheral noise. Focus on the puzzle that's in front of you and get it done as fast as you can.
I find that there is usually somebody on a team who is looking around at other things. Is there somebody on this team that does that? No, nobody does that.
No, we're in our zone.
It's only after we finished that we knew that we were likely in the podium. And one of the reasons for that is that an enormous number of Australians were volunteering at Worlds, taking times and doing every manner of things. So often it was an Australian taking your time. And if it was, then they're likely going to let the Aussies know, you're sixth, or where you placed, where they possibly can, or if they know about it. So yeah, shout out to the Aussie volunteers that not only competed but also volunteered at Worlds.
So then you came across the line in the top 10 as you were shooting for 6th, which given the field that you were competing against, seems amazing. Not that you guys aren't amazing, but that's great company to be in. Did it feel that way?
Yes, I was stoked.
The difference, what threw it for me was that we completed the 2 puzzles in 82 minutes. 81 minutes would have put us third.
Yeah.
Like, that's how ridiculously close these competitions are getting when you're putting 2,000 individual pieces in a group of 4. Is 1 minute is the difference between prize money and not prize money. Still, luckily for Worlds, it's top 10 is get a podium place, but it's tiny. It's such a minute difference. So we were over the moon.
You guys were 6th behind the Hungarians. You were 9 seconds back from them, and they were 3 seconds back from the Betches from the US.
Yep.
So even like, I can't do the math. It's like 15 seconds would have made a difference. And to me, that's, you can always say, yes, there's always things that we could do better. There's always things any team can do better, but it just shows how in the competition you guys are, right? Like, you guys are right there, that any slight tweak of the environment could have meant a very different, of those 3 teams, a very different result. It seems like that would be very encouraging as well, to be like, we're in this zone, like we're in the top 5 in the world. We placed 6th, but like only because
There's a reason we're going back, and that's it. That it is the competition is so close that luck, the right puzzle, a puzzle that suits our strengths as opposed to one that doesn't suit somebody else, can make the world of difference. There's so many minute variables that can actually affect the outcome on any given day, and that part of it's addictive. Chasing that's addictive.
I think mindset also comes into it a lot as well. So like, initially when I saw how close we were to the other teams, I was like, God, 15 seconds or whatever it was. I'm like, I could have done something differently and then we would have come, blah. But then I also had to then train myself to think about it the other ways. Okay, what can I do 15 seconds better? Or like, there was another team behind us that we managed to beat. And how do I then keep amplifying that so we can actually, it's so close that we are in it, not that we're at risk of being pushed out of it.
As we talked about before, every second counts in a lot of these situations, right? It's amazing to me continually that in the course of doing 2,000 pieces worth of puzzling, that at the level that you all are at, that there are literally every second matters as to what position you would be in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's both exciting and terrifying. That little tiny difference makes a difference.
Yeah.
And you're amplifying that pressure, I guess, too, over, an hour and a half or whatever duration that those 2,000 pieces take. So maintaining that's a challenge as well, realising that you can't drop the ball just for 1 second for an hour and a half or 2 hours, whatever it might be.
So much focus. Yeah. At what point then was it immediate that you decided to go to 2025?
Yes.
For me, it was no doubt.
I was on the fence about it.
Were you?
I was, but only because of life things that were happening in the next couple of years.
Sure.
So we'd already had a holiday the year prior in Europe, and then we went to Worlds last year. And then this year was going to be a saving year because I'm getting married next year. He's not technically my husband, he's my fiancé, or however you want to. So we weren't going to travel.
I would say
Fiancé,
maybe.
It might not catch on.
Like Beyonce.
It sounds French when you say it.
So we weren't going to go this year. I wasn't going to go this year with my partner, but we obviously are.
We sort of forced you.
You did, and there's some exciting stuff this year. So obviously we're competing as a team, but we've got some new people coming in Australia with us, and I'm pairing with Mel this year. So there's some changes. It's not going to be a repeat of last year in a cookie cutaway, but I'm very excited to see what our team can do with the right puzzles at the finals, hopefully.
You guys have sponsorship this year.
Yeah, so we reached out to some puzzle companies and other companies in general, because I really feel like speed puzzling as a sport is in an enormous growth stage. And so we do have Vizzles Puzzles, which, if you haven't heard from them, they're the #1 Australian puzzle on Kickstarter. Vizzles Puzzles helped us by sponsoring our trip to South Australia this year. So we competed in the South Australian competition. had a lovely Airbnb and got to do some puzzles together for over the weekend, which was wonderful. So they helped us with that, and you'll see their logo on our jerseys this year as well. But there's still time, Rob, so you may see some other logos on our jerseys. We'll see between now and then.
Yeah, I am imagining you as an American race car with just like patches all over,
We would love that, because that would help me save for the Beyonce wedding. So that'd be brilliant.
Well, I want to be considerate of the time that you guys have allowed for me. But I do want, before we sort of head into the speed round here, I would love to hear who else we should be looking out for from the Australian side of things, because it seems like you guys are building up a stable of capable folks. So I imagine you probably have some folks we should be paying attention to.
Yeah, indeed. So certainly in our individual category, we've got a fairly newcomer on the scene in Caitlin McGregor. So Caitlin attended her first nationals in 2024, but has really jumped ahead in the rankings this year. So she competed in the South Australian competition in May and came second in the individuals. She competed then in the Tasmanian state competition and won that one as an interstate attendee, and came second in the Western Australia competition. So she's going to Worlds for the first time, so she's definitely one to keep an eye out for. We've got quite a few people returning. So Marita Broberg, she was 89th at Worlds last year, but she's a 4-time reigning South Australian state champion and is puzzling as well as ever. So she's definitely one to look out for. Reese DeWar from Queensland, also returning for his second time. I think he came... so Reese came 7th at the 2024 Nationals, puzzling really well. He attends some of the online competitions that I host, and he's puzzling really well. And I'm really excited to see how Sarah Lorenzini from South Australia goes. This will be her first time at Worlds. She came second in the South Australian Nationals this year, has come third in the South Australian Nationals the last couple of years, but has definitely picked up the pace recently, came 5th in our Nationals in 2024, just gone. So she's right on Hannah's hammer in our online competitions, and will be very exciting to watch.
And I think she's partnering with Marita as well.
Yeah, partnering with Marita, which will be interesting.
So that'll be scary.
Second in the Nationals just gone is Tina Coe, who's also attending for the first time. So both Tina and Sarah and Caitlin have just sort of really upped the game recently, putting a lot of pressure on us. So they will be really exciting to watch at Worlds. And you can't discount Jess Bennett either, who's attending now for her third time. So she's puzzling. She'll be puzzling with Tina in pairs, which again will make a very strong pairing there.
Is the Australian contingent going to be larger this year than it was previous years? Do you think?
I think it's doubled.
Looks like there's 38 registered 38.
Do you recall roughly how much it was last time?
20-something, 22.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. The one team to watch as well is Big Jig Energy. You've got Jess Bennett, Sarah Lorenzini, Tina Coe, and Marita Broberg. So a lot of the names that we mentioned for the individuals. They'll be an excellent team to watch this year. So we're really excited to see how they go on the world stage.
Any other things before we head out of this area?
I wondered if Hannah, you wanted to mention who you were pairing with. Give her a little shout out.
Sure. I'm partnering with my sister-in-law, who has been following my journey and been inspired. So she's getting into speed puzzling, and she's been getting a lot of tips from Katrina's online events that she runs. So Katrina runs 2 categories of online events, where one is the top stars that just go for it, puzzle as fast and hard as you can. She also has a new stars category where she, people getting into puzzling, she guides them through with tips and suggestions as well. So
Love that.
My partner, Marina, she has graduated from new stars into top stars and is doing okay. And I think she's also had a session with Mel, who did a workshop recently. So she's very motivated, as I'm sure are a lot of the new Aussies coming for the first time, which is very exciting.
And there, I didn't know if you were going to also mention just the growth in the numbers that are attending our competitions in Australia. Mel had some figures on that if you haven't already done that.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about the frequency of the competitions across the year in Australia with our state comps and national comp, but the hunger for more is definitely there in Australia. So we do have a really strong puzzling community, speed puzzling community. Our state events sell out around 200 people, and we run 6 of those across the year. And then our nationals, I think our nationals in 2024 was actually, I believe, the biggest single person competition ever.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that I saw something like 300 and something, 380 something people.
Yep.
Is that true?
373 competitors in our Australian nationals last year. This year,
In a single
all
event,
puzzling
in a
at the same
single
time.
Single event.
the
Yep.
same puzzle. Yeah, so
That's a lot of humanity puzzling all at once.
it is. It's huge. And we're expecting this year we're introducing a 2-day nationals with preliminaries. So we haven't had prelims or qualifying rounds before at our nationals. It's just been a 1-day event. So we're very excited to expand that out, but just because it's selling out at such huge numbers. And but yeah, I noticed Spain this year was 363 participants, so almost as much. But yeah, I think our 373 is still the biggest one I've ever seen, where it's like that many competitors doing one puzzle together at one time.
Yeah, that must be amazing to watch.
Yeah.
Anything else that we want to make sure that we get in before we start heading out?
That's all I had.
I'm excited for the speed
Yeah.
round.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going into the speed round. These are simple questions. I'm going to ask each of you to answer it, and we'll go in reverse alphabetical order this time around. So Rhianna, you can kick us off each time.
Okay.
Rhianna, Melissa, Katrina, Hannah. Let's just jump into it. Gradients, patterns, or fur?
Gradients.
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 Patterns. You idiots.
Mel, I can't believe you didn't say fur.
Well, fur. Look, I
Yeah.
would still prefer gradient over fur,
Okay.
and yeah, but fur would be second to patterns.
I'm starting to get a feel for what your table talk must be like.
It's very similar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Illustration or photo?
Illustration.
Photo.
Photo.
Illustration.
Busy or landscape?
Busy.
Landscape.
Landscape.
Busy.
Nice. Round or square?
Round.
Square.
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 I'm traumatized by rounds.
I'm the only one who likes rounds in our team.
Yeah, Katrina's got a vendetta against rounds.
Ribbon cut or random cut?
Ribbon.
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 Oh, unanimous. 500, 1,000, or 2,000? Thinking about this in a team situation.
Ooh, teams? 1,000.
1,000.
1,000.
1,000.
What's the favorite puzzle that you've done as a team?
Garden allotment.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
agree with that.
Garden allotment. That's a good one.
Where can people find out more about you?
We have an Instagram account, Aussie_All Stars. And I also have more of an Instagram account on peaceofmind_puzzles. They're my 2 biggest.
Melissa?
Yeah. So I've also got an Instagram, but I would say for the Aussie All Stars, definitely that account is the best place to find team information and updates there.
And funny reels and all of the
Yeah.
above.
Yeah. Ree's our content girl, so she's all over it.
Project manager.
Social media manager, project manager. Really should get a pay raise, girls.
But yeah, my Instagram is Mel Townsend _ I had to double check it because that's how online I am. But yeah, that's. But go to the Aussie All Stars page. That's where you
Yeah,
get.
same
that's
for
where you
me.
get the-
Katrina?
And I also run online competitions under Speed Puzzles Australia. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram for that under those, as well as Katrina Coleman just on Facebook.
Well, Hannah, Katrina, Melissa, and Rhianna, thank you so much for spending time with me. This has been great and actually tamer than I expected it might have been. So I appreciate you taking the
Been
time.
a
to
pleasure.
Our pleasure.
I
Thanks
could
for
have
having
chatted
us.
all day.
Thank you very much. We could probably fill a whole podcast episode with why Katrina Coleman hates rounds.
Yep, we could.
Stay tuned for the sequel.
Amazing.
Thanks for listening to Peace Talks. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at peace_talks, and you can send email to peacetalkscast@gmail.com.